Rightio, so here we are, live on Saturday afternoon in Howick actually at the moment. What we're doing today is we have changed our location. This is just a test location. It's not always going to be like this. We are needing to do some technical tests, so we've come to where there's a bit faster speed to see if it will help a more constant connection stream. So what I'm going to do today is I am just going to share with you, I'm going to answer the questions that have come in, and I'm just going to keep going, because in the past when we drop connection, Jamie lets me know, wait, and then I stop, and then I start, and then I stop, and then I start. So today we're just going to press on through, and if the connection drops, he will do what he can to quickly get it back up again. So if you are there live with me today, thank you for joining me. And also, please bear with us if it does drop the connection. Just wait a few minutes, seconds, in fact, we hope, and we will be connected again. But after the fact, as usual, when we have finished this live broadcast, we will put this production, this live streaming, onto the Oikos homepage so people can watch it after the fact, in which time there won't be any drop connections. So here we go. Let me jump in and say hello to those of you who are there again. Thank you for joining me. And now I'm going to answer some of the questions that have come in. They're quite good questions, and I'm very, very pleased to be able to get to them, because they're questions that I think will be on many moms or dads' hearts. And you know what I've just noticed before I actually go there is I just want to say hello to Kerry, because I asked Kerry earlier if she would be able to join us on live stream, because she had some questions. So hello, Kerry. I'm so glad you could make it. I'm glad you could be there with me today, and I hope that it goes well your side. I hope you can see the live streaming, and that you can hear it, and that everything's working nicely your side. And thank you for your letter. It was a lovely letter that I received from Kerry, and she was asking some questions pertaining to her homeschooling journey, which we like to call the learning lifestyle journey. So I'm going to go to some of those questions now. If you do arrive online onto the live streaming while I'm busy answering the questions, don't think I'm ignoring you, and please just ask away on the Facebook comments there. I'm not there at the moment. I've gone to where my questions are on my notes, and then when I'm finished with these questions, I will go back to the Facebook page and see who's there and what questions you may have. So where I'm going to begin now is with this first question. It says, the question, it's a long question, so I'm just going to shorten it and tell you what it's about. This mom was writing about the fact that she's finding it very difficult to be different. Difficult to be different. So I would like to encourage moms out there that are dealing with that particular difficulty, in the fact that they feel different to what is going on around them. And I want to say to you, very simply, be glad to be different, because it's actually not a bad thing to be different. In fact, the Word of God, my Bible's not here. Dear. You have to get a Bible for me, Jamie, somewhere, but never mind. I'll just tell you what the Word says. The Word says that we are a peculiar people. And so, by you doing what you are doing, I want to encourage you to press on and just keep going. Don't see the differences as a negative thing. And you know what? If you are struggling with being different, there's Jamie's getting this Bible for me. Thank you, Jamie. If you are struggling with being different, then your children will also struggle with being different. So I want to encourage you to embrace the differences, to embrace being different, and see it as a very positive thing, because you will then help your children to embrace being different, and they won't mind it. Because if you think about, if you're struggling with it and you're passing that message on to your children, then they're going to struggle with it, then your struggle is going to get greater. So I would suggest you as parents to actually work on embracing the difference and being glad about it. The difference being you're not the same as the greater majority around you. Let's just say you're feeling really set apart, as in the majority of people are going this way and you're going another way, and you're finding that really difficult. So yes, I'm not denying that it's difficult. I'm not saying to you shouldn't be finding it difficult, because there are difficulties in being different. But I just want to help you to be glad about the differences, because the difficulties are actually a journey that are part of the process. We all, I'm sure, by adult stage in life, we know that difficulties actually grow us and refine us and give us experience and help us to be molded into, we hope, more and more and more of His image. For example, before you had children, you had a certain measure of patience. And then after you had children, your patience had to grow. Just had to. So you got more patience through a difficulty. I don't want to say your children were a difficulty, but it's not just a walk that, oh, look, this is so easy and so wonderful. There's difficulties in it. But it's how we think of those difficulties that makes the difference. I'm smiling at something now because you might notice that the hair is all something different today, because my hair is actually just naturally a little bit crazy. And I normally take a flat iron thing and I try and make it a little bit presentable for the videos, for the camera, which isn't something I normally spend time on. But due to needing to consider productions, I've had to get used to that. So that's a difficulty for me. Something that other people will find to be a pleasure is a difficulty to another. So you see, it's what we think about that difficulty and how we approach it. So for example, I was at the hairdresser and they were giving my hair a trim and doing some different things with it, because they know that I do work on camera. And so they were trying all different things, and I wasn't being particularly glad about it. I was going, no, I don't want you, and I don't want you. And I was thinking, our son, who's behind the camera at the moment, he was also having a haircut that day. And he was being very obliging about everything. And the hairdresser had to giggle about that, because she said, you've taught your son to be such a good person and he's so obedient and complying. He's not been difficult like you are today. And then she went on to say, that isn't it interesting that us as mothers are so patient with our children, but we actually aren't patient with ourselves. And I sat there while she was fiddling with my hair, and I thought, she's so right. We have less patience with ourselves than we do when we need to be patient for the sake of our children. If you think about it, you will have so much patience when your child is sick, much more patience than you would have if you're not feeling well. I'm just, generalizing here now, but it just did make me think about this question of this mom talking about how difficult her difference is, how difficult it is to be different. And there I was sitting with something completely unrelated, and that is having a haircut, and then the hairdresser doing things with my hair, and I'm not responding to it very favorably. Okay, and so I had to think about thinking about it differently. For example, when you're on camera, you've got to put makeup on. Now, I just don't wear makeup generally, but now when you're on camera, you've got to wear makeup, because otherwise you've got shiny and blotchy and all sorts of things going on. And so I don't have a very good approach to having to wear makeup. It's been like a mountain for me, see? So now, if I can think, well, God moves mountains and He wants me to do this, so let me do it with a joyful heart. Let me not be grumpy about it. So it's not something that I find easy, and it's something that I think is difficult, and I think it's different to my daily living. But now I can keep struggling with it, or I can decide, you know what, God needs me to do this. I'm going to do it with a cheerful heart, and I'm going to ask Him to help me to remove the mountain, to not be grumpy about it. Okay, so now this seems completely unrelated to your home educating journey. But we've walked this whole home educating journey, and it's been such a joy. It's just been absolutely fantastic. But now I face things, when it comes to sitting here sharing with you, I face things like lights and hair and makeup and things that I never had to face before. So to me, that is a difficulty. All right. So I'm just saying to you that it's how I deal with this difficulty now that will make the difference for me to being able to help you more effectively. So to all the moms and dads and parents out there that are having a difficulty with being different, please know that to change your thinking on it will help you and help your children. For example, if I take this, what is I call a difficulty, and being different to myself, with this whole production thing. And it's a constant difficulty for me. I'm making it difficult for my son, who's helping me to do this, helping us to do this together as a team to be able to serve. So we can do that joyfully, or we can do it with lead feet, as it were, really struggling along the way. And God wants to help us. He says, call on me and I will help you. And he wants us to help us to do it cheerfully. So that is a very different way to answer the question of I'm finding it difficult to be different, but I hope that has helped in some way. All right, the next question was, again, I'm just going to summarize this question. It was a mom writing in, asking for help with regard to the fact that she doesn't feel very strong or encouraged or joyful. She's not experiencing the fruit of the Spirit. And she finds home education to be quite a strain and a drain. So you can imagine, when I read that, I felt really sad, and I just thought, I really must pray for this mom, and I really must see what it is that I can just call on God for help to see what it is that I can share to help any mom, not just that mom that is feeling drained and finding home education a strain. And what came to me is that we have the life of Christ. And because we have his life, we have more than sufficient, everything we need. So we can have the fruit of his Spirit. So for the mom who is feeling demotivated, well, we have all the motivation we need in Christ. And for the mom who's feeling discouraged and disheartened, well, we have all the courage that we need and more. We can be very courageous people, not in of ourselves, I know, because there's so much to not be courageous, to feel fearful about. But in Christ, we have all the courage that we need, more than we need. But it's not our own courage, it's his courage that he has given us. You see, so if we try and rely on our own courage or our own motivation or our own patience, it's going to always be inadequate and insufficient, because we will just always fail because of our flesh and our humanness. But in Christ, we are more than conquerors. So I'm just encouraging that the best answer I can give for this mom who is struggling with this, and any others that might relate to it, the best help I know that I can give is God's word and his son that he sent for us, and that he has given us his Holy Spirit so we can live by his Spirit and not by our own flesh. Living by our own flesh is towering, but living by his Spirit is not. He carries our burden. We're not supposed to be carrying it. He gives us peace which passes all understanding. So we don't have to try and work it out and understand it. Just have peace. So how do you attain all of that and actually walk in it the way that I know how to? Is a constant acknowledgement of Christ in me, the hope of glory. Christ in me to assist me in this and help me in this. Christ in me, not in my strength, but in his strength. Just practicing walking in such a way that it is more and more of an experience of his walking and not my weakness, but his strength. Hope that helps that mom who is feeling so worn and strained. Okay, then this is a completely different subject altogether, but a mom asked me about art. She said that she's not artistic and she's not creative, but she's got one of her children. She has, I don't know how many children she has, but one of her children is very specifically artistic. So as a mom, she's feeling, what can I do to help encourage or support or develop this child's natural artistic tendencies? And she feels inadequate. Well, I would like to say that you are not inadequate, because God created you and he is the creator. So again, I would like to encourage that mom to accept his creativeness within you and actually do something with your child. Because if your child is excited and happy about art and you're nervous about it, well, then you can say, you know what, let's do this together, because I'm going to how can I say, the mom saying to the child that I'm going to draw from you your passion, your excitement for this. And you don't have to tell the child that, but if you would like to, if you feel it's going to be helpful, and do a project together, even if the the adult who's feeling less creative and less capable and feels the child is just so creative and so excited about doing artistic things, and the parent, mom or dad, is not feeling that way. Well, I know how that feels with regard to a different topic, and that is a more academic topic, because academically was the area that I struggled in, as in I'm a bit nervous of this, but creativity wasn't a stumbling block for me, but academics was. And yet I have a very academic child, for example. So all I did was learn alongside that child and be excited about what I was learning with the child. It was like an adventure. And I got excited about learning about that academic thing, whatever it was, geometry, let's say, which isn't something didn't even go as far as geometry in my own schooling. I didn't go as far as that level in mathematics. And now I was at home, and I had been doing maths with my children since they were little. And so I've learned alongside them all the way up to that level. And now I'm excited about maths. I mean, I didn't even think I could say that in the same sentence, excitement and maths together. But it's true. I'm not as afraid of maths as what I was when I was a child or a young adult or even early adulthood. So you see, I would like to just take that example of my lack of confidence and fear of something, that I actually grew to love that thing because of my child's passion in it. So my child's passion didn't make me more fearful of the thing. It actually helped me to become less fearful just by coming alongside my child and doing it together, because that's what you want to do. You love your children. That's why you got them at home and you're caring for them. And so by doing things with them, it's your way of loving them even more, rather than being afraid or feeling inadequate. Okay, so that was the art question. And then the next question, this is a good question. I would like my mother to come and answer this question, but I can't get her to come and answer this question right now, so I will answer it for her. And that is, this is a big topic, and I've done a few videos on it, and it's on the topic of whether learning should be fun or not, or how much fun learning should be. Or because isn't there the part that you need to apply some discipline, and some parts of learning isn't going to be fun and all the rest? Well, as I said, I'd like my mother to answer this question, because she has this philosophy that the more fun and enjoyment you're having when you're learning, the more effective that learning is. So she had a daughter, myself, that didn't find academics very easy. So she saw to it that she made it of less of a strain as possible. She didn't make it more of a strain for me and more difficult for me to achieve academically. She didn't do that. She did the opposite, and it's okay. She tried to introduce things that made the academics a thing that was very difficult. She did everything she could to make it fun. See, so it's a little different, because some people might think, well, you have to discipline, and children have to learn that not everything's easy, and so on. Well, my mother's philosophy is learning should be enjoyable. And there's many other things in life where you have to train. Disobedience is not acceptable, so you have to train that. And it's not fun to be disciplined if you're being disobedient. There's nothing fun about that or enjoyable about that. It's hard. It's a tough one. But so she would say that there's all these other areas that require a firm hand and discipline, and where it's not necessarily pleasant or enjoyable. But learning, she feels, should always be enjoyable, always, so that when your children are adults, they actually are not afraid of learning. They don't shy away from certain elements of learning because they're going, I didn't ever enjoy that at school, or that was so difficult for me. So they, as soon as they can get out from doing it, they do. That actually isn't the fruit you're looking for. I'm sure the fruit you're looking for is the thing that your child's finding difficult now, that by the time they're an adult, they won't have a difficulty in that, as great as they are now, that you're now experiencing with them. And secondly, that they're going to enjoy their learning experience, even in the difficulty that they're having. That's, again, you come alongside and you work together with them and help them through that difficulty. It doesn't mean, I don't mean the complete other side where I say, oh, shame, they're finding that difficult, don't worry to do that then. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying take the difficulty, work with it, and help it to become something that is not a strain and a struggle and tears and upset for them while you're trying to get the fruit of learning happening. You want the result of learning having happened, and it's not going to happen when there's strain and stress and tears and upset. It happens better in a nice, loving, comfortable environment. That is a fact. Well, it's a fact that I believe, and I've witnessed it and experienced it in my own, the way I was raised, and in my children when they faced a difficulty, and in other parents' children, and seeing when a child is having a great difficulty and so is the parent, and you just help them come together and work together on that. So it's so much more than the actual lesson. It becomes more about the relationship and the character forming and so on. Okay, let me go to the next question. I don't really want to read that question out, but I will, because this is probably now the 4th time I've had a question similar to this, and I used to be able to say no one's ever said that before, but now I can't anymore, because this person's saying my son's having a difficulty with language, Latin specifically, and I used to be able to tell people that I've never heard anybody have a difficulty with Latin, but now I am receiving more emails, questions about that. And I had a chat with our son about it, because he just loved the beginning of Latin and absolutely took wings at the end of Latin. But the middle parts, those books in the middle, no. That is one area that I could say that it could have been a very big difficulty. So I had to, as a mom, be very creative with the way he got through those lessons, because I wasn't just going to put them aside and say, oh, well, don't worry, darling, you don't like it, so we won't do it. Didn't do that. But I did see the face when we took out, when it was time to do Latin, and out came whichever book it was, the orange book. He didn't mind me reading the books to him, read aloud, that was okay, but doing these lessons, doing the writing, he just was so disinterested, to be frank. And so I had to, as the parent, I could do a few things. I could just be really worried about it and concerned, think he has got some learning difficulty. So what did I do? I went to the Lord, and please help me with this. Help me to be creative and bring some creativeness or some interest to this lesson. So I would look at what the lesson required, whatever it was. I'm going to make it really simple. Let's say we had to, we're learning verbs that day. The lesson was about the difference, find the verbs in the paragraph. And it's just, to him, he just can't see the point. It's like, what do I have to do this for? So then, I would show him the big picture. Show him the more he has an understanding of the language, the more skills he's going to have and the more capable he's going to be. And I, as a parent, need to see to it that I'm equipping him to be used by God and be useful to God, and that he won't feel a lack, that he won't, feel as though when he's an adult he can't do certain things, that he needs some basic skills to do. So we're going to press on with this. But instead of me sitting there with the book and the lesson, I got him to actually... I read the paragraph and I said, every time he thinks, I read it out loud, every time he thinks he hears a verb, he must act that verb. So if I said, the man walked slowly down the road, he had to now think what part of speech in that sentence were verbs, if there were any, and how many were there. And then he had to think about it, and then he could act it. Now that wasn't a problem. Now we're having a whole lot of fun. I mean, just imagine a 10-year-old boy. His mom's playing this game with him, this kind of word game where he's doing these actions. It certainly wasn't a problem anymore. He didn't know that we were actually doing a Latin lesson at the time. We were just having fun. But I knew that he was thinking about verbs. I knew that he was practicing what a verb actually was. And I could even take it even further and saying adjectives. And now we're really moving ahead in our lessons, because I say... Okay, the man walked slowly down the road. Okay, tell me which one's the verb acted out. And now, how was he walking down the road? Was it he was walking briskly, or he was walking backwards? And we make fun with it. Okay, and then lots of laughter, lots of fun, lesson being taught. And we're also learning adjectives. We haven't even got to the lesson of adjectives yet. See, just like expounding on the verb lesson. Now, you might, as a parent, think, well, I'm not sure that I can just know how to do that. But I believe you can, because there's the lesson for you. You're trying to teach this lesson of what verbs are to your child. Your child is really, you see all the body language when that little book comes out. That was not a pleasing sight. So now you're going to have to be creative. And I'm suggesting that you call on God, ask Him for help. Help me, Lord, now with this. I know that I need to keep this learning fun and keep it enjoyable. Let's have fun today with this lesson. Please help me achieve that. You call on Him. And as I shared earlier on, by His Spirit, you can actually do this. You can. And even if you feel like you really don't believe me and you're sitting there and you're thinking, well, I can't. I've tried any this and I've tried any that, and you've had all kinds of blocks. Well, then I would say you sit with your child, you pray together and say, Lord, could you help us, please? Because I know as a parent that you need me to be a good steward, and you need me to be obedient, and you need me to train up the son the way he should go. Please help me to do that, because you can see this is really difficult for him. And you know that I don't want it to be difficult for him. And you can sit and have a conversation with the Lord, and you can call on Him with your son. So your son knows your heart and knows that you really want the best for him, because what parent doesn't want the best for their child? Only one that's going to be very neglectful or abusive or all of that. And that's not what we're talking about here today. We're talking about the majority. Everybody who's there joining me on live streaming is there because they are wanting the best for their children. That's what I believe. And on that topic, let me go see who has joined me. I don't know if Kerry is still there. I hope she is. Let's have a look. Lizelle is there. Hello, Lizelle. Kerry, I'm wondering if you are still there. Oh, here we go. Kerry's asking this question. How do you make learning fun, capital letters, when you're not naturally on your feet? Thinking, yeah, well, I hope, Kerry, I hope I've answered that question. I don't know when you wrote that. Might have been when I was sharing about that. I'm only looking at that question now about you asking about how to make learning fun. I could actually sit here for the rest of the day talking to you about ways to make learning fun. But each family is so individual, and each child, the way I could make learning fun for my daughter would be very different to the way I'd make learning fun for my son. And I'm sure you agree with me that each one of your children are so unique, and you can have fun in learning as a group, as a whole family. And then there's those very special individuals that you know what makes them, what really works for them. I knew the kitchen always was the place to go for our daughter. If she needed to learn something that was not happening in the book and it was just creating a stress, we would remove the book and we'd go learn about that, whatever that aspect was. Whether it was a language lesson, a maths lesson, a spiritual lesson of some sort of character training that needs to play. I knew that the kitchen was going to be a good place for me to be training that in her and teaching that. And she was going to be in a good place, a happy place. She loves the kitchen. She still loves the kitchen. So you see, I knew that that was the place to go with her to make her learning experience fun. I really, really do want to encourage that though today. I want to encourage this thinking of making learning fun. Do you know why? Because if you think of the week coming up and you are approaching the end of the year, maybe everybody's starting to feel a little bit worn down, a little bit tired, maybe there's too much going on and you're feeling a bit stressed. I would just love to encourage you to finish this lap on a really high note. And the way that I know how you can achieve that is by you yourself just relaxing and just doing fun things with your children. It's okay. You really, really, really can. You can do fun things with your children. You don't, learning in home education and homeschool, it doesn't have to be, the rod and sit down and do your lessons. It doesn't need to be that. It needs to be that in an environment where teachers needing to get control because there's 30 children and they all misbehaving and being noisy, and she's got to make them all sit quietly before she can start even teaching a lesson. Maybe that's what she's dealing with. But you're a mom at home with your children, whether you've got 1 or 10, it's a small group. And I'm going to encourage you to really call on God to ask Him to help you to have fun and relax and enjoy this journey. Enjoy this week. Let's just take it 1 week at a time. And this week, just do that. Do things that you know are just relaxing and pleasurable. And even if you have to not do a few things that are overloaded, you've got an overloaded program, just maybe put those things aside a bit and enjoy your children and see what the end of the week looks like, and hear from your little lambs. Ask them how their week was, and do your own little analysis for yourself of your own family, and find out for yourself the areas where some of your children are really not enjoying the process of learning, and how you can make that better. You and your husband pray about it, discuss it, talk to them, talk with your child, find ways to remove the strain of that or the negative that you've got attached to that particular subject, I want to say, particular learning. I'm just going to go back to our son in his Latin, because he just flew on everything else, loved everything else, but this Latin, he just hit a spot where he went a couple of years where it just was not something that he was embracing and loving like he was other, you had to like slow him down with his maths because he was just flying. And then this Latin came along, and he started with Blue Book and learning to read. And I actually had a chat with him about it, and he was saying that when there was something exciting and inspiring happening in learning, that is what kept his attention. But the moment it became kind of pointless or meaningless to him, he wasn't interested anymore. It was, well, what's the point of this? And he needed me to give him reason for why that needed to happen. See, that is his character. But I could take those moments, those valley moments, and help focus on his character and turn and still impart the lesson in, like the example I gave you about taking it out of the book and putting it into everyday living and life and action. But I think the value that I get out of that valley is the fact that it highlighted areas of his character that needed some molding and some forming. And that is what was most valuable, more so than whether he actually remembered the grammar or not. Although those were also skills that were good. Okay, so let me see if there's anybody here. Sylvie's there. Thank you for joining me, Sylvia. I love these faithful live stream attendees. It's really, really supportive. Thank you. Oh, Lizelle is saying that she needed to hear this live stream. Well, there you go, Lizelle. I'm so happy. If this is what today's live streaming was for, if you are saying to me, I have no idea how much you needed to hear that, well then, thank you for sharing that, because then today has been worth every second. Because let me tell you, we were challenged with this live streaming, but you know what? It's not challenging enough to give up. It's not, oh, well, this isn't working, let's not do it. I'm so compelled and convicted that God wants this to happen, whereby we can sit here and I'm able to commit this time to share with you, because our children are adults now, which means that I have this time now where I'm not dealing with the babies and toddlers, and I'm here and available to help you. And I'm just so blessed. I just feel so privileged and humbled that I'm able to do this. And this technology just blows my mind. That's why we must just press through, that I can actually sit here and talk to Kerry, who happens to be in another country. So it's just incredible. Kerry has come to South Africa a few times, and we've tried to tie it up that I can actually meet her and see her. And I've never actually met her yet. Because each time it hasn't worked out. But now I can sit here at last stream and talk to Kerry, and she's sitting in another country, and it's working. Kerry, tell me, is it working as in the connection and all of that? All right. Okay, that's a good question. Kerry, I think, is still there, and because I think she just asked another question. Thank you for this question, Kerry. Did you do everything with them, or did they do some of their own, say at 14 years of age? Do you know what? That is such a good question, because it's another whole topic, and I'd love to answer that for you, Kerry, because there's a little concern that I have in home educating families that I've watched develop over the years. And that is, I know that home educating families are concerned about things like matric and social. And I think, well, actually, you know what? Those are the things you need to not be concerning yourself with, because they're not a concern. They ought not to be, because they're not, because the evidence shows that they're not a concern. And the things that I would love parents to be thinking about more carefully, they're not concerned about. In fact, it's even the other side. They're so not concerned, they're not even noticing that it might be an actual problem. And one of them that I picked up is this, what you're speaking about, Kerry, and that is, do you stay alongside them even when they're 14? Well, this now creates a very, very careful balance, because I think that in some instances, young adults can become so reliant and dependent on their parents and their tutor, the parent, whichever parent it is they're teaching it. If it's dad doing the maths lesson, then it's like they can't do the maths lesson unless dad is there. So dad sets him a task and off he goes, and then they can't do it because he's not there, for example. Now that needs help for a young adult. Now that's different if the child's 7. And people say that, oh, but you know, home education is going to make the children too dependent on their parents. Well, God has asked us to look after them and to protect them and to care for them. So yes, they must be dependent on on the adults that are caring for them. But when they themselves become adults and you're training them in adulthood, your role as a parent changes from being a nurturer to a mentor. So now your 14-year-old, you are mentoring into adult life. And so now there comes this balance whereby you have to teach your 14-year-old that they need to do some things on their own because they can. And you've spent all these years teaching them and training them and showing them how to. And now your role changes, and you don't have to nurture them through the lesson. You have, like I had to do with a 10-year-old little boy, help him to get through his Latin. Now I sit him down with his Latin book. He's 14 years or 15 years old. And I say to him, you need to do this next lesson. If you need my help, you can ask me. I'm going to the kitchen to make tea. But he can't come into the kitchen, follow me with his book and sit on the counter and try and get me to do the lesson with him. No, I'm not helping him by doing it with him or doing it for him or helping him. That's actually not helping him, I don't think. I've got to say to him, well, you need to go back to your desk, sit down. There needs to be some time for seated learning. And I need you to show me what you're capable of, because I know you can do that lesson independently. So you see, there comes this time where you start to train independent learning, thinking, and that needs to take place in their young adult years, because when they become early adulthood, they're going to be having to make decisions that require independent thinking. They can't make that decision based on whether mom thinks they should or shouldn't. They're going to make the decision based on what they as an individual are convicted to before God. God is who they have to check with on that one, on the decision-making process. So the thing I was saying earlier is I get concerned that parents are sometimes, home educating parents are inclined, they have this tendency to be a nurturer all the way through until the young adult is in early adulthood after 18. And you actually see the fruit of dependency on parents that isn't actually necessarily a good fruit, as in it's too much of a dependency and not enough of an independent standing before God, standing on their own feet and facing God and making decisions on their and being able to be independent thinkers. And the parents need to mentor that into place. So that is one area that I believe is an area that parents need to give attention and be watchful for. That they don't allow that to become a negative fruit in the young adults that they are keeping at home and training at home. I think these young adult years are absolutely vital at home for the discussions that young adult minds begin to ask questions that they're not going to ask when they're little children. And it's a fantastic time for mentorship and leading them in the Word and taking them to God's Word to find the answers, and doing that on a more adult level. But then there's the other side, and it's absolutely fine to have a lot of fun with your children, even when you're all adults. It doesn't have to stop That doesn't mean you have to stop having fun with them and doing things with them because now they're young adult. There's that extreme as well. I mean, I've been in a home where I saw a parent, and this has happened more than once. I've asked where their young adult is because they got 4 children and the 3 younger ones are around and the older one's not there. Oh, where is she? No, she's in her bedroom. She's doing her learning, her studies. And the young adult comes out with earphones in, iPhone, whatever. And I think, it seems to me that the young adult has now been separated from the family. That's what the picture looks like. And I think that somehow there's something wrong with that. I understand if they've gone there to separate themselves to do some deeper thinking, learning and that. But I've seen that picture and it's disturbed me. I thought, why is the young adult separated from the family because they're a young adult? Because I do understand that there's a time for them to go and learn, but not to the point where, okay, I'll just tell you it as it is, because it was confirmed for me when the parent said something to the young adult and the young adult responded in a way that was a bit of a shock to me, because I thought that was disrespectful, or the young adult was basically telling the parent what they will and what they will not do. And I thought, oops, this is a home educating family. Maybe the parents need to just be careful and be aware that just because the young adult is asserting themselves more doesn't mean that they're now in charge, that they have the authority in the home, because it's absolutely not godly. That's not what God said. God didn't say when your little children are in their young adult years that they now become the authority in the home. He never said that. So that's just an area that I think that parents need to be just careful of. Oh, Moraine is there. Hello, Moraine. I'm glad you could make it. And Moraine is sharing with us that at children age where they do a lot of independent work, but I feel that I'm dropping the ball and not so involved as I should be, but I'm now realizing that they are growing. I still feel I should do more. Correct. I agree with you. Do as much as you can without affecting that mentoring thing, as in make crumpets while they're doing their lesson. You don't have to sit next to them while they're doing their lesson, but prepare the tea party. Make some crumpets, and when the lessons are finished, because your young adults, you've got a house full of young adults now, they're not little children anymore, and they're all doing their learning independently, and now you come together and have a tea party. You see, what I would like to encourage is utilize every moment you have with your children while they're in your home. Whether they're children, little children, older, young adults, make the moments happen. And don't become complacent. Use every opportunity you can to sit with your young adult and have those deep conversations. Or when you're going to go off to get some groceries, take one of your young adults with you so that you can have a conversation and hear from their hearts. Ask leading questions. How's it going? You've been doing so well with your independent learning. Do you need any of my help? Remember, I'm always here for you. Do you know, I want to share something with you. A couple of weeks ago, I went and had tea with my mother and father. They're in their 80s now. And we had just a wonderful chat. And I was asking some fairly deep questions about life and where they at, and letting them know where I was at and things like that. And they were just so supportive and chatting to me. And on the way home, I just felt so privileged to have parents that were so invested in time and input into my life. And I was so grateful that I was just thanking the Lord for that and just giving thanks that I'm so privileged and so blessed. And then it came to me that I'm just going to encourage parents to be that for their children, because my parents are 80, and I just felt so overwhelmed with gratitude for them at that time that it made me even more compelled to encourage you to be those parents, to be the parents that your adult children will be so grateful to have. But furthermore than that, what happened? I got home, because I live a distance from them, and I got home and I went to check my emails, and there was an email from them on the same day after I had visited with them. And it was an email for them to say to me that they are always, and they used always in capital letters on the email. They said, we are always here for you. And I just thought, look at that. I'm an adult woman, my children are adults, and my parents are saying we are always here for you. And to me, it was such an expression of God. I've got these earthly parents, but I've got a heavenly Father. And I just thought He is always there for us. He never, ever leaves us. He's there to help us on every detail and every moment. And so we as the parents can give that message to our children. That's why I'm saying to Miranda, don't drop the ball. Pick it up and go play catch with your children. Do be involved, be invested in your children and their young adults, even in the young adult years, even though they become more independent. It's not this little family gathered around the coffee table coloring it. It's not that anymore. The picture's changed, but it's just as precious. It's actually, you need to actually see those years as even more precious, if I may say, because they will be over. So you must utilize every moment that you have to make the most of that moment. Oh, Kerry, if you're still there and you're just talking about how when you start home education later and your children have they're already sort of set in certain ways, that you've been inclined to leave your daughter to get on with her own independent learning. I would really encourage you to involve yourself. Don't be inclined to let it be too much on the one side, but actually involve yourself, because you can let her know that she's a young woman and you need to be mentoring her in womanhood, and that your involvement in her life is terribly important, and that just think of the day, at the end of the day, how much time has she spent on her own versus how much time have you spent together versus how much time have the whole family been connected, and all of the percentage of time spent in each area. I would think that if you can consider that and try and structure your day in such a way that you are able to see that you keep a good balance, because it's, if anything, you, like I was saying earlier, don't let your children become so dependent on you that they can't do anything without you doing it with them. But on the other hand, also don't leave them just to get on with it on their own too much as well, because your young lady daughter is going to be a woman one day, God willing. And so these years that you have with her are the only years you have with her in your home. The only years left. It's only 4 or 5 or 6, whatever it might be. 7, it doesn't matter. It's short. It's a short time. So the rest of her adult life, she's not going to be in your home. And so that's why you have to treasure this time and make a moment make a moment out of everything, as I was saying to Moraine, as much as you possibly can. That's fantastic, Moraine. You see, now that is a treasure you sharing there, that you've been so blessed. Your kids, and you have a wonderful relationship. We do to share lots of moments together and truly enjoy life together. There. That is moments and memories that you have made for life. And that is what is going to be a treasure. Those are gems. And I just think it's fantastic. But just keep doing it. Don't get complacent with becoming a little bit less involved, too less involved. Oh, that didn't sound right. Become more involved rather than less involved when your children are still at home. Okay, Morena has to go now too. It was pretty good from you. Goody. Thanks, ladies. Okay, well, Morena needs to go, so bye-bye to you, and thank you for being with me. And Kerry, thank you for joining me on today's live streaming. And the other mom, Sylvie, was there earlier on. Whoever else has been there that I've missed, sorry if I've missed you. It was not intended. And I look forward to our next live streaming. May you have a joyful, fun, peaceful, relaxed, moment-making week. And please join me again. That would be so, so good. Thanks, ladies. Bye.